How far? All right, you're on. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order as I don't have my watch on apparently. 6:02. Thanks. We'll start with the roll call.
Okay, Mary Ann Banks,
Present.
Natalie Drozda,
Present.
Andy Grove, Pat King.
Here.
Tom Langston, Amanda Rost, Tom Sufchuk,
Here.
Mike Wallen,
Here.
and Pat West.
Here.
Right, next up is the meeting minutes. They're in our packet here today. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the April 17th?
So moved.
Second,
A second.
and then all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
What opposed? All right, the minutes, approval of the minutes has happened. Item number 2 is citizens' comments.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Come on up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marty Basic. I live on Outlook Drive. I'm here to present to you a proposal. I don't know if Matt had sent it over last night or if you had a chance to look at it, but essentially I am proposing a transformation of a green space in Lebanon Hills to a third place and a bit of a park. And so a bit of how I got here was I emailed Commissioner Swager Wilson about this and asked if this would be possible. And she said, sounds cool, would love to do it, but I don't know if this is possible, ask Rudy. So I asked Rudy and he said, ask the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. And so I'm here today to ask you all about advice and I guess guidance around this proposal. In essence, I think that the green space presents a really unique opportunity to have a third place and also a place to convert some grass to a tiny forest as it mentions in the comp plan, or just transforming some grass to a native plant area. I see this happening in sort of 2 phases. So the park itself, if you look on the proposal, it's fairly large and a lot of children do use that. And so I want to maintain a bit of the grass area for the children to still use, but take about half of that that's kind of shaded under the trees and take out the grass and put native plants in. The sort of impetus for this whole idea was Pennsylvania provides a grant for doing just so, essentially transforming some of the grass areas to native plant areas. And so I think this is a really unique way to get some of the grant money and kind of navigate outside of the budget to achieve something really unique. So the first phase of this I see being the actual transformation itself. Granted, there's a lot of prereqs here, like getting the grant, having just even the knowledge or capability. I'm not sure if this is something we're able to do in a public space, and that's sort of why I'm here today for advice on that. So the phase 1 is converting this. I would be willing to assist in that process with labor. And then I envision this sort of having a bunch of different Pennsylvania native plants, along with some paths in between from the wood chips that the municipal has. So it creates sort of a pathway through the plants and a space for residents to have a unique place that I don't think, I mean, we have sort of this model in some other places like across from Lebanon Hills, but having an area for residents to go to sort of wander and escape and be in nature, if you will. The sort of second phase of this that I see and the part that I'm sort of excited about, but is more of a stretch, I would say, is the addition of some fitness and benches to the park. And so I linked 2 examples in there of places that I've spent time in. So one, Hermosa Beach in California, and also Tampa has a Bayshore Boulevard along the bay there, and they have a series of fitness stations that are positioned all throughout the sidewalk, and it's pretty simplistic. It's mostly just pull-up bars, but it's a really cool feature to have and brings a lot of people out for something other than just running or biking. The second example I linked of Hermosa Beach has a railroad that they converted from a railroad to actually a green belt, they call it. And so it's about 3 miles of just wood chips essentially that's flanked by native plants. And they have, again, similar to Tampa Bay, have some stops along there for fitness stations. I think this would be just essentially one area of a pull-up bar, a dip bar, and maybe like a bench for whatever residents would want it to use it for. And then I think the second piece of that, I mentioned the benches. I think it would be really nice to have benches sort of scattered throughout, just some simple wooden benches for people to go to. And then my like big stretch dream would be to have a fountain in there. I've seen this in other places and it's a really unique feature, and I think being so close to Washington Road in that area, and a lot of us are very close to Washington Road, it drowns out a lot of that road noise, and so it's, I think, just a benefit to health overall. And I think that's the essence of the proposal. Again, this is very much a draft and very much something I'm looking for advice on. Is there an avenue to be able to do this? What would those steps look like? Because this is very new to me and converting that public space. I hope that you'll consider this, and thank you for listening to my wild proposal.
Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing it to us. I think what we can do is take this into consideration. We can add it to our agenda for our next month meeting to discuss it in more detail.
Yeah.
Just a quick question, the pricing on here, is that all stuff that's not just kind of what you think it might be, but has it been researched at all, or how accurate do you think the pricing is?
I think it's 50% accurate, so a bit of it is from research and a bit of it is what I think it would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can add it to the, like I said, to our agenda for next time to discuss. And we are working on, a list of projects to, provide the commissioners with what we think they should sort of be spending the money on as they work to set the budget. So this is kind of just in the nick of time,
Okay,
to add to that list, so.
great.
Marty, I had a question for
Yeah,
you. When I
absolutely.
look at this area, it strikes me as an area where the neighbors would walk their dogs. Do the neighbors support something other than a dog area?
Yeah, so I would have to ask them. I think like with the paths in it, the idea is that this isn't fully blocked off because a lot of people do walk their dogs there. So the idea is that they can kind of take their dogs on the trails in between the plants, and it's not fully inaccessible.
And you kind of propose you're cutting down some trees too.
I would leave all the trees. I maybe didn't do a good job diagramming that, but this is primarily shade plants that would go under the trees. So retaining all of those trees there because they're very old and I want to keep them.
So generally, you think the neighbors are in favor of this? I mean,
I think so. I think they would be open to it. Anecdotally, I just planted sedge, if anyone is familiar with it, in my right of way, and everyone's been super interested to see like, what am I planting? Like, how do I envision this going? And so people seem really open to the idea of having sort of different plant palettes around.
you did a nice job putting all this together.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Very well done.
Thank you.
How do you see this maintained?
Yeah, great question. I think this would have to be maintained primarily by the municipal staff. I think the idea is that it's a net decrease in the amount of time spent in that area, given that every week essentially they come in to mow the entire area, and this would be a lot less of a maintenance thing. So it would be like pulling weeds a couple times a year, or once this is established, there shouldn't be any watering required. And so I think overall, it would decrease the amount of time that they would have to spend in that overall area, but it would require municipal staff support.
Do you think there'd be community involvement?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely do a lot of the work. I think my neighbors would probably be into it as well. I know some of my neighbors work on the library for planting. And so I think they would be open to that and supporting that as well.
A lot of these similar spaces in Mount Lebanon are sort of mowed by the municipality, but then flowers and other additional things are done by the community around it. How does that work? Phil, do you know?
The mowing itself is actually contractual. Our crews,
You don't do that?
we do not have any labor in that island, so anything added would be additional
Okay,
on the maintenance end of things. Flower beds, high visibility ones are contracted. There's a separate contract for that. We run in 3-year cycles. So most of what you see is maintained contractually.
okay.
We're not set up for mowing. We're not set up for those quick, small stops to 96 different traffic islands. So we found that's the best way to do it, is to go out for competitive pricing every 3 years. We have a whole set of contract document specifications that goes through the bid process, so.
I'm not familiar with the area. Is there any parking that is close by to there? Is it all street residential parking?
It's all residential parking.
just concerned with. If you make something that people wanna come to, you're now taking up parking of all the residents.
Right, yeah, everyone is pretty spaced out there, that no one really parks in the street for the most part, so there is a decent amount of space.
You're allowed to park on the street?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, so, but I think that's a good consideration as well with the parking.
It is also right off of Washington Road. If you know the area at all, that I think people walk through there a lot. I think it would be a destination that people would stop at mid-walk versus drive to, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, absolutely, and I did a run club in Mount Lebanon, and I know they go through there all the time. It's because it's more flat, a lot of people do tend to walk through there, and because of its central location, so that was sort of an idea of it being high visibility as well, because of the amount of foot traffic.
If you wanna walk and get off of Route 19 or Washington Road, there are less traffic. They kind of sneak back in this neighborhood, so it's kind of an interesting spot for it, for sure. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for listening, I appreciate it.
Any other citizens' comments?
Is anybody else on the virtual option? Nope, no, we have one more. We'll check and see. Hey, Dan, Phil with Mount Lebanon in the meeting here, just checking in to see if you're here for citizens' comments.
You would have to unmute yourself and you would have 5 minutes to speak.
There we go.
Now we can hear you.
You hear me? Okay. Hi, my name's Diane. I live on North Meadowcroft across from the new pickleball courts that were placed. I don't know if your board has anything to do with adjusting the hours. The hours have been for years till 10 o'clock at night. And because of the noise that we've been having since they've been put in last fall, we feel that the residents around here feel that it's too late from 9 to 10 o'clock to be hearing the noise of the pickleballs. Just wanted to, no, I spoke with our commissioner and Keith McGill, and I just want to know if this is the group that has any say-so in changing the hours from 10 o'clock at night to 9 o'clock.
We as a group don't have any say-so, but we are hearing similar concerns, and they're tracking those concerns that are coming to the various commissioners, primarily your
Okay.
commissioner.
Who's
Who's
tracking that in
I
particular?
believe the commissioner is sending those,
Jeff Siegler would be,
yeah.
okay,
So he's tracking those, and then we saw what was reported last month. And are kind of monitoring the situation to see how that goes. And then at this board, all we can really do is make a recommendation to the commission to change the hours.
okay,
And if we decide that that's what we think should happen, then we can make that recommendation. In terms of actually changing the hours, that still comes down to the commissions.
Would
That's
that be
their
addressed,
choice.
would it be addressed in another meeting?
would be addressed at their meeting then? Like, where does it go
I
from here? then?
don't believe I don't believe I don't know. Do they go through their own, the complaints they receive from residents at their meeting?
The commission has asked this board to look at it, and at the last meeting, this board wanted to monitor the situation a little bit longer before making any recommendations for changes. So
Okay,
that's,
so who would, I mean, you're welcome to come to my house from 9 to 10 o'clock at night and listen to it. So
Is it,
how's it being monitored?
We're monitoring the level of the number of complaints and also the usage and how many people are kind of trying to get a feel for how many people are using the courts.
Well, it's full now, and like, you're talking about the dog parking. We have no parking in front of our house anymore. We do rent spaces across the street, but that's about it. And some of those pickleball people also park in the private lot across the street that we pay a monthly fee to park in there.
Are they stopping at 10 o'clock sharp or?
Well, the basketball lights have gone on till 10:20. So they said something about it's an old system. And I've called Rudy or emailed Rudy a couple times, and no, they go off at 10:20, which is even later.
For the basketball?
Yeah, but the pickleball goes off at 10 o'clock.
said it's a digital system.
They said it's a new digital system that goes off.
The other concern that came up last month was the playing of music. Has that been an issue?
Not for me. Usually it's basketball people, kids that play, and it's usually foul music if you want to know the truth about it.
But you just got a reply about.
We just got a reply, yeah, from Keith McGill that it's the music. It's not the music, it's the sound of the ball. When there's 6 sports going at one time, it's a lot of noise.
Yeah, they're
And I
busy,
know-
we know that.
And I know the commissioners voted down to put a pickleball courts down where the tennis courts were earlier this year, so I was sorry to hear that.
Well, that was just, not now. It doesn't mean not ever. The timing just wasn't right. We still
Okay.
have some research to do there, so. That's not being ruled out by any means.
Okay, I mean, like I said, it's just the parking. When you have 24 people on a court, that's 24 cars on our street, plus people waiting. And then we have T-ball games at Lincoln Field and softball games. Parking is really a mess here.
Well, that's one of the reasons we wanted to kind of just keep an eye on the situation, because when school's out, that it's all gonna change again. School's out June 7th, so that the
Oh.
summer is gonna have a different feel. And before we decided anything, we wanted to kind of understand the various seasons.
Okay, so then we have to keep waiting then.
Yeah, I think so. And just know too, this is not what you're gonna wanna hear, but pickleball is pretty much the fastest growing.
Oh, I understand that. I don't have a problem with the game. It's just, we put up with it from 7 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night. I think that extra hour that they would reduce it would be a great benefit for our area here.
Okay,
So
I mean, they actually start 7 o'clock in the morning here, so
you're suggesting a 9 PM stoppage?
I don't, yes, of lights and stoppage, yes. That's all, 1 hour.
all right, thank you so much for your comments.
All right, thanks for your consideration. I appreciate it.
Before you go,
Before you hang up, can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, it's Diane Brown, Dianne, Brown, Brown, 30 North Meadowcroft.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I've been here 47 years, so it's not like I'm new here. It used to be a cute little park across the street when we came here, so thank you again.
Thanks a lot.
All right, bye-bye.
Would it be out of our place to ask, what records are being kept for the next meeting, just to get a sense of like,
sure.
Well, here's what I could tell you. I just recorded whatever was shared with me, so the spreadsheet that's in the SharePoint site.
oh, okay, I missed
That
it.
is-
I apologize.
That was from emails shared with me from Commissioner Sealer. So he could have others, I don't know. And I could certainly ask him for the complete set of complaints, assuming, he's probably has them all in his email.
Yeah, there's been more since our last meeting. and stuff.
I heard one today and it may have been Ms. Brown, but I have to go look at my emails again. So,
That would be interesting, because I think you gave us 6 or 7 last month. If there were no more than 1 this month, that's interesting.
that have reached my ears, that doesn't mean that
That's how many.
the commissioner hasn't.
Well, could you go back and collect those and then
Sure.
add that to the agenda for next month, and we can review whatever complaint and have kind of a system in place that they're being sent to you and we're reporting them, and there's have a sense for at least the number of complaints.
I mean, around the area, people are complaining about the noise, the thing of that ball on the paddle, and that's,
Right.
I'm pretty empathetic to her concern. It's an urban area right there. To me, the parking, if I was going there to play, I'd try to park in the school lot rather, because I've never seen parking on the street available.
Yeah, the problem is that there's, like she said, other things going on at Lincoln.
Yeah, at night.
There's nothing.
Yeah, right.
There's no parking if there's a baseball game or a softball game or a t-ball game. That lot fills up quick.
I think it's a pretty reasonable request on the part.
We're requesting to check the timer. We'll get that issue squared away for, get
Yeah,
the
as well.
court lights off at 10.
Okay.
It's not a problem.
We'll move on then from citizens' comments. I think those were the only two.
Is the, yeah, that's it. Yep, we're good.
All right, item 3, chairperson's report. Is that me? I assume I don't have a report.
Okay, that's fine. Well done.
For the tour.
Yeah,
It's
we have a lot of stuff to talk about. so-
time we're getting back.
And item 4 is the commission liaison report, and Craig is not here, so I don't think we have a report from him either unless,
No report.
okay. And then so we'll move on to the staff liaison reports.
Okay.
I'll jump in
Wanna lead
there
off?
first, just, you have this list in front of you and we'll keep this going. I'll just touch on the, kind of high point ones, the parks. Parks and athletic field signage, we opened, 3 quotes, sent out to 5 different vendors. We're gonna go with Sign Pro Architectural after, looking through their qualifications, what we needed, as far as requirements went. So a purchase order is in process, to be issued to them, and that will cover all of your neighborhood parks, large main park, bird park, things like that. Our athletic fields, bird soccer, Dixon Middle Seymour, will all get signed. So we'll go through that process with that vendor and we'll keep you guys in the loop as that goes on. We're getting a requirement from them not only to have every proof signed off on, but also we're asking them to mock up a couple location signs for us so we can physically take them out in the field and really understand what we're putting up before we commit to fabricating money, for the big bucks there. On the 28th, Tim Nuttall from Okios Ecology will be reporting to the commission on his whole package for the forestry and invasive management plan. You'll see that later on, but just know that that's a phased approach to tackle invasives in our major parks. We can also use means and methods to branch off into smaller areas as well. So it's a good starting point, but that will focus on Rob Hollow, Bird Park and Twin Hills, in terms of a schedule, what to do each year, dollar allocations, everything like that. Over at small parks there, pretty much wrapped up Church Place. We refurbed some benches that were part of Washington Road Business District. So they're kind of going out as we get time into the parks to be reused. They're wrought iron, powder coated, they're in great shape. If they're not, we touch them up before they go out. So that project over at Church has been wrapped up, new handrail, railing's been put in. We'll stain it later in the fall when that wood dries out. Little attention down the main park to some erosion areas below the commissioner's lot. The guys pruned up a lot of the oaks during the dormant season in there and kind of opened the view up in that park a little bit better, I think, for this season. Over at Rob Hollow, big issue is the staircase that connects one half of the park to the other. It is remote as remote can get. Our guys are in there right now installing interlock timber steps, backfilling with gravel. So we'll have a correct staircase going the whole way up to join both the upper and lower, as we call it over there. Stuck some trees in Iroquois Park, which is always fun. Took some of the older ones out of there a couple years ago, so we are replanting those areas. Over at the ball fields, we're gonna release the skinned area at Brafferton that was leveled off and flushed into the existing turf over there. It's doing really well. It's good underfoot. There's no reason not to play on it at this point. So we overseeded that this week. Gonna push it. We pushed it with a little bit of fertilizer. Gonna give it until probably first week of June. Then we'll email all the organizations and let them know that fence is coming down. Then we can switch some field patterns, get some of those wear marks out of there. Our crews can do maintenance and flip-flop goal areas, which is one of my goals this year to work with the different groups on that.
It was held up exceptionally well this spring.
It has. It's the best I think it's looked in a while.
I agree. I've been there 3 times a week.
And the more we can rotate goal areas, we can get that place looking good. Over at concession stand, those service windows came in just in time, got installed before the seasons opened up for baseball, softball. Our new bleachers came in that have the back fall protection, pass through for rows 4 and 5. You can't even buy them anymore with that many seating. We got rid of the 5 sets randomly pushed together that get out askew and look terrible. Went with 30 foot plus bleachers on each sideline, larger units out in the parking lot with ADA seating incorporated into the fronts. Same with Middle and Seymour Field, or Middle and Dixon Center Field. We'll have that addition to it. Other than that, look through this. You guys got emails or questions on anything, concerns? Don't limit it to today or tomorrow. Use my email every day you're out there, so I appreciate any extra eyes. So,
A quick question about the main park rec center master plan.
yes.
So where is that? So where it says final concept or revision, so the consultants are revising the plan and then they're gonna present it to the commission?
We went through our staff team,
Okay.
kind of second revision after it went in front of commission once. And
Okay.
David, jump in when you know I'm going the other way with it. So they kind of heard their comments and concerns, adjusted their concepts, narrowing them down, consolidating, pulling aspects from one that were favorable but not in, a plan, merging those together. So that will go back in front of commission
It was on last night.
on last night.
Yeah, so you could see some of their presentation from last night's commission discussion session. They presented their concept drawings for various park areas, the courts, the fields, they call it the forest, basically the big hill behind the pool and playgrounds and rec center. And then the rec center concepts as well. The commission gave us some feedback yesterday. We've been giving them ongoing feedback. They are going to do sort of a small community outreach on the opening day for the swimming pool. I don't know what hours they settled on, but towards earlier in the day when we open for open swim at noon. So this is May 25th. They're gonna have a tent, dry erase, some drawings, an easel. So they'll be set up right outside the pool entrance, so anyone walking in or out can stop at the table and see the concepts as they exist now and provide some feedback. We, as most people know, there's been so much public feedback from Parks Master Plan to Comp Plan to Rec Center, Rec Program Study, that we were kind of getting survey overload. And truly, there's a ton of public input already, so I think we're kind of reducing the amount of.
But knowing that what you're doing is already taking into consideration
Right.
so much of the feedback.
Exactly, yeah, not that we're disregarding it, but
Right.
just, we already have.
You're utilizing what you've already asked.
Correct.
Does that involve making some of the upper parking?
There is some parking expansion in there,
Upper park off of Vernon?
no, that was
That
removed,
was
that was removed. There's a little bit of parking, like it would include removing the sand volleyball court to put accessible parking in there for the basketball courts and the upper courts in the tennis center. There's an expansion of the parking at Seymour, so the south end of the park there on Cedar. There's
They're not gonna pave that, are they?
I don't know what it's gonna be, honestly.
I've never seen so many potholes.
It could be paved and it looks like it's paved and striped on the drawing, to be honest with you. So I would expect that they would pave it. There may be some other parking in there. They presented initially some concepts where they were taking tennis courts for parking, and we did not think that was a good idea at all.
But no parking structure.
There is a parking structure in one of the concepts for the rec center, yeah. It would be under the building, the addition to the rec center. So there's like 3 versions, sort of tiered, good, better, best, or big, bigger, biggest, maybe, I don't know, depending on how you want to look at it.
More bucks and get more bucks.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd spend that price.
There's options, let's put it that way.
All right, do you have anything for your staff?
Just very quickly, we're in the very busy season for us, preparing for all our summer programs and opening summer facilities. I mentioned to you the last month that we were in the process of hiring a tennis center manager. Darren Rosso is on board from Kirkland, Washington, drove cross country to start right away, and he's been doing a great job out at the tennis center. So if there's any tennis players in the room, I hope you can attest that things are looking much better. We have a court replacement project on courts 5 and 6 at the tennis center. The site contractor has begun his work putting in the trench drain on the low side of the court. And then the court contractor will follow on his heels with a complete replacement, including the subsurface irrigation system for the court. So we'll have basically 2 brand new courts. The swim center, preparations are in full effect. We might be full by now. The pool was almost full. Did probably a 60% repaint on the interior. A lot of work was done, and we're filling and getting ready to start up our filters and get that ready to roll.
1 week to go.
Yeah, 25th is opening day, so 10 days. And it's always an adventure. That's all I have.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Phil?
Yeah, just a real quick one for Phil. So the Wacos is presented to the commission on 28th. Is that when their report will become public
Yes,
and
yeah.
available to us?
Yes, it'll have years of suggested implementation per park, what year to budget. So it's their take on how to do this thing over the course of, I think it's mapped out for 10 years.
Right.
So it's very, very substantial.
Excellent.
Great, we'll move on to subcommittee reports. I don't believe we have any subcommittees, so we can keep going. Old business, we added the field census study update. That's something I wanna pursue, but I'm kind of putting it on hold until we get through some of these things that have a deadline. So the plan is to kind of bring that back up and discuss that more at maybe the next meeting or the meeting for that, depending on how this works tonight.
Forgive me for not knowing that.
This is the study that,
Is the report on the SharePoint? 'Cause
I don't think it is, and that was another thing. Should we put it on?
I think it is.
Is it?
Yeah, but I
I
might,
didn't see it. Maybe I looked in the wrong place.
I think it's in the SAB folder, Sports Advisory Board, but, if it's not, I may have not done it because I wasn't sure I had the latest version, because when you and I got it from you right prior to our meeting. And then I think you had more meetings.
I think I can, let me send you the version we used for the discussion
put it in.
meeting, or I can just put it in there. Oh, then I will do that.
If it's not there,
Experiments with-
put it on in there.
Awesome. I will try. I was in there today. I will try to do that.
Can you just highlight just a couple of things that are on there? real quick?
Sure. So we basically surveyed every youth sports organization that uses, an adult organization that uses a field. So we have a sense for how many people are using the field, how these organizations are growing over the course of the next, how many years. And then looked at some strategies or some, kind of tiered ideas, again, expensive, more expensive, most expensive, ways to add more field capacity, whether it's adding lights, turfing something, adding a multi-purpose surface to something, or a bigger park, McNeely Park to develop that, which is 20, or how many acres? It's a big park.
McNeely's like 28-ish. I
20
think.
some acre
Or
park.
maybe it's 23.
That's undeveloped, at this point, that Mount Lebanon owns. So that's basically what it does, is it kind of outlines what the issue is and what are some possible solutions to it. And how we can also more efficiently, pass out these field spaces to people, the process is very,
And also partner with the school as well.
yeah, and work with the school, and because the study is for all fields in Mount Lebanon, whether they're owned by the municipality or the school district, and the vast majority of fields are actually owned by the school district. So getting the cooperation between those two organizations and changing the sort of allocation, the way the fields are allocated, we have some recommendations on that. So there's definitely a sort of next steps for that, which we can discuss as a board and kind of decide what to do next. But again, I'm gonna table that until we have gone through the budget stuff, because that's a priority now. So I just wanted to get it on the agenda, so it kind of stayed there, but to kind of keep us, so we don't forget about it, basically. So that's that update, but let's go next to the new business, which is the work plan and the capital and other improvement projects. So the work plan, I think, is in your packet here too.
Yes, it is.
And is this what is this the joint of the two kind of old work plans?
It's a combination of things, yes, from Sports Advisory Board and Parks Advisory Board, previous work plans. Knowing the duties of the current board, Parks and Recreation Board. And then just kind of highlighting some of the current issues, for example, the field census study. So Phil and I wanted to just, put our heads together and give you a draft of what we thought made sense, and you're certainly welcome to edit this as you see fit.
So let's take a few minutes to do that. If everybody wants to kind of read through it, and if anyone has any suggestions for changes, let us know. And if nobody has any changes, then someone could make a motion to sort of approve this as the work plan.
One change, and hey, this looks really good the way it is. On item one, I'm wondering whether we want to expand it just somewhat to say review and prioritization parks and recreation. Improvement projects for the forthcoming budget year and future capital improvement programs to be considered by the commission or something to that effect.
Sure, that makes sense. So review and prioritize for projects for the forthcoming budget. Say as well as the capital.
Development of the capital improvements program.
But as they pertain to the operating and capital improvement plan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we're making recommendations, but some of I think they clarified some of the investments that we're making could be year one of many.
exactly.
So it's not just, but we're not just looking at this coming year. We would actually be looking at all future.
Yeah, no,
Correct?
yes, is that a question or a statement? But yeah, I agree. But I'd like to have that put in just to clarify. 'Cause
Yeah,
I don't know, like.
well, I think that's a good point. It's, first of all, it's for the commissioners. We're doing it on that. We're doing it for them to give our recommendations in terms of, for their budgeting purposes as well as the long term.
Okay, so let me try this and see if this sounds okay. Review and prioritization of parks and recreation related improvement projects. Lost my train of thought. To make recommendations for forthcoming budget and capital improvement program.
About multi-year capital improvement.
Can you say capital improvement program cycle,
Yeah.
just knowing that
that's fine.
it's living and
That's fine,
goes
yeah.
on.
And it changes every year.
Anybody have any other like items that we feel like we should be doing that are not listed here?
There's more stuff, but nothing precludes us from looking at other things that come
No,
up during.
no. This is just kind of to keep us focused. That's kind of what our goals are. All right, is there a motion to approve then with the amended number one? Second? All approved? Approve that one plan then.
Who was the second?
Me.
Andy, thank you.
Thank you for getting us started. It's always nice to come in with a draft version, not start from scratch, so thank you for that. All right, so we'll move on to the second one, which is the bulk of the meeting tonight. We talked a little bit about this for those who were here before the meeting, but basically, for those of you who have not done this before, David's come up with a list of 16 items that kind of came from both the sports board and the parks board on things they have recommended in the past. Our goal tonight is to rank these items 1 through 16, add any additional items that we really think should be on here and be included in this process, rank them. And then this list goes to the commission when they're doing their budget planning for the year. And they use that as their part of their recommendation to what to approve or not approve. We never know how much money they're gonna spend. It's not like they say, here's a bucket of $5 million, $10 million, $2 million, figure out how to spend it. That's not really how it works. they decide, looking across the whole municipality, what they're gonna do and trade off things. So it's kind of up in the air. The other issue this year is that there are some really big ticket items on here. And they may be issuing a bond to pay for some of this stuff. So it's a little bit of a different year. We know that's kind of coming, whether it's in 25 or 26. And some of these items, again, big ticket items are just to keep kind of things as the way they are. So, but we need to put those things on the list because we're trying to show them what we think is the most important. So we don't want to take anything for, if it's not done, it can be on the list. In the past, we have excluded things like the rec center roof and some other sort of, how you would just. Infrastructure things, because we don't feel like that's really our area of expertise. We're trying to focus on sports fields and recreation facilities and parks. So those are our things. So if I think to try to do this and not take forever, because this can go on for hours and hours. And I'm gonna say now it's 6:45. I have to leave here at 7:10, 7:15. David can take over for me when I have to leave middle school choir concert tonight. So my first thought was, should we go around if everybody's had a chance to look at this list? And let's note too, that the items 1 through 12 are sort of sports advisory board and 13 through 16 are parks and rec. And that's just because I think David took the two and combined them. That's by no means, I think, where parks, right? Isn't it starting 13 through 16? Look like all parks.
Well,
That was all,
Not really. Meadowcroft Phase 3, I mean, Sunset Hills, I mean, it's hard to separate parks and recreation
But there's a little
in a
bit.
lot of cases.
Yeah, there is a little note, but I didn't want to start off by thinking that all the park stuff is at the bottom and the field stuff is at the top. So, which is kind of how it is, and maybe that is how we feel, but I just wanted to say, like, there's no reason why we can't move things up and down. So what I thought might be a good thing to do, because everyone's kind of coming from a different background, a different area of interest. Looking through this list, kind of what your top 3 to 5 items are, because that would get us to at least to a consensus on that. And basically how we do this is consensus building, and when we think we have a consensus, then we'll ask someone's motion to approve the list. And we move things kind of up and down as we discuss. So,
I'm sorry, Amanda, I need to ask these guys one more
Sure.
logistical question, which is why I was confused when I put this thing together. These all, I mean, obviously, this isn't all gonna get funded, all 16 items necessarily, but
Right.
these are in addition to what's already on the 2024 through 2028.
Last year's CIP.
Yeah, last year's CIP. So we don't have to worry if we go for number 9, that we're bumping something else off of this, earlier list. Is that correct?
Well, if it was funded in the 2025 budget, that's really all that matters. You can't affect, the current CIP or the budget. They're already published and they are what they are.
Yeah.
But having said that, if you decide, like the Parks Advisory Board and the Sports Advisory Board prioritized a bunch of things in the CIP, the current version. Those are all those references are gonna be gone, and it's gonna be the Parks and Recreation Board's priority list. So it could be completely different, like something might have been in, year 3, and now it's gonna be in year 1 or whatever. And other things happen too, like no one knew our chiller was gonna fail last June or May when we put that list together. So that's another reason why things can change dramatically. But certain things that were in that book, which was published in like June, then subsequently got funded at the end of the year in the budget. So they still look like an open project, but they're actually funded and they're gonna get done, like the tennis courts, like the tennis center elevator. So I hope that makes sense.
yeah, so we don't want to include things that have been funded.
Correct, yeah.
And that's not on the list.
This list of this is not.
Bill and I would not do that, yeah. We let those off of there.
This is a good draft again to start. And if you see something like, for example, the project that the gentleman brought to us tonight, that's a small project that's not part of any of this.
Correct, and since you brought that up,
That is something you could technically add to this list.
well, no, what we're gonna end up doing there, I think, because you're gonna have a little bit more time for the budget cycle than you are for the CIP cycle. Things that are under 100K, you can recommend as an expansion level in the budget. So probably what will end up happening is that, as Phil and I are building our budgets here, which is gonna start fairly soon, if we know there's a project that's a high priority for this board, we can slot it into the right cost center as an expansion level. So in other words, like we have maybe 5 levels that are funded and existing. You might come up with a number 6, maybe it's forestry, I don't know. And so then the commission will look at those expansion levels in the budget process, and much like they prioritize capital, they're gonna do the same. We really want this item, and then there's less dollars for the next item and so on. So it's really that simple. Like there's finite dollars, they have a spreadsheet and they start selecting like with straw votes of, yes, we're gonna support this, we're gonna support this. The finance director is filling them in on the balance sheet. And when it says 0, they're done. And then that's what goes into the vote for the final budget.
All right, so do we feel like that's an interest of time to kind of go around and have everybody kind of say what their top few things are, at least to get us started in that area?
Yeah, and let me just throw one more thing out there. If there's something that's not on this list that is super high priority for you, bring it up. Even if it's not capital, we could still rank it relative to everything else. You know, we're probably not gonna end up with a ranking strictly for non-capital and a ranking just for capital. Like, I think the commission is really interested in your overall choices. So if we know them now, obviously, if we don't know them and they come up later, that's a different story. But if you know there's something that's really important, it's not capital in nature, it can still go on this list and be ranked, and then Bill and I will know to put it in the budget somewhere as an expansion. All right.
All right, Andrew, do you want to start going at that end?
Oh, man,
Because you're decently familiar with the list.
yeah.
So we're doing top 5?
I say like top 3 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, this is just your view, and that way we'll see like how different we.
Well, I think we've talked about this in the past, like something like the ice rink chiller is most likely going to end up being at the top of the list, just because it's a need, not necessarily something we would rank.
Right, it doesn't
Unless
mean
it
you're
wouldn't
picking the
have
ice
happened.
rink over
Right.
everything else. but it's-
So like, that's already kind of slotted in at number 1, I think, no matter what, so I think we're just talking about after that, is that?
Yeah.
Would that be correct?
That's not what this list says.
Right, you should decide to rank it, I think, and if you decide that you believe it's gonna get funded no matter what, and you don't wanna rank it, that's your decision, this is your list, not my list.
Yeah.
So,
But I-
do as
But
you wish.
I think that's a
Yeah, I mean, I would think for the operation of the
Yeah.
department, I would still rank that one. It's going to need replaced for the operation of the entire facility. I'm always a fan of bathrooms, so I think adding bathrooms or a storm shelter at Bird Park, golf course, those are high use. So I would put bathrooms up. And then again, we know that the field turf replacement, the warranty or the life of the turf is done last year. So you're on borrowed time a little bit, knowing that that's going to have to get replaced. I would keep that as a high priority item. That might be 1, 2, 3 pieces of this, or 4. So that's where I would go. I would go bathrooms or ice rink, and then bathrooms, and then the turf and lighting.
So in that order?
Yes.
Yeah, so, put the numbers in. Okay. we're sort of tracking like a little tally.
Yeah, that's
It-
great.
it
I
was-
just wondered.
We'll get back to you, but you,
That doesn't mean
you can keep us honest
anything.
over there, Tom.
My little brain can't keep this straight, so.
Yeah, I know.
You guys are tracking it.
Yeah. Pat,
Phil's got it.
how about you?
I'll fire away, and I agree with you on the lighting for the, or excuse me, the ice rink chiller. It's not operable without it, so the other things seem to be able to keep going, even if they have to wait a couple of years, but that one can't wait. I would also say, golf course restroom. I would also say and I'm trying to pick a couple from sports and maybe a couple from parks. So if I dip down into the parks, maybe development of the forest management plan for street trees, if I'm trying to pick a couple from each. And then, the other thing, I was looking at the bird park bathroom and storm shelter pavilion, number 7. It's hard to assess. I mean, I love the idea, but how much usage are they getting there? Like, what's the bang for the buck? If people aren't going to Bird Park and they're not using it, then why spend the money? The converse of that is, maybe if we fixed it up, they would go.
Well, David
I don't
can
know.
tell you maybe off the top of his head, how many preschool and kindergarten soccer players do you have this spring using it? How many times a week?
I mean, we have about 750.
750
twice-
kids and their
twice,
families
yeah.
being there every day.
And right now, just, I think there's
There is no bathroom.
2 porta-johns.
So that's for the field area?
Yeah, we're talking about
Not the
having a
park
restroom, correct?
pavilion restrooms.
Cause there's already a pavilion in like the lower part of the park. We're talking
Gotcha.
about at the sport field, something more than a porta potty for
All
your
right, so that's
preschool or
helpful.
kindergartner.
Thanks for explaining
to go
that.
with.
So I would put
Yeah.
that on the list.
And if a storm breaks out and there's a middle school soccer game or a preschool soccer game, people have a place.
That's
to be
helpful.
covered.
Yeah, I would add
They
that.
don't have to try to go up the hill.
And I think what we had talked about was like kind of a combo, like it'd be a shelter into bathrooms, like it's all one, it's not 2 separate
Mhm.
structures, it's one
We don't wanna
structure.
lose a lot of the field space, but there is, the usage of that field is tremendous
Yeah.
still, and it's not the best field in town.
And park
And
goers.
it's still used, it's still used tremendously. And that doesn't count the people passing through for hiking.
Go 1, 7, 10, 14. Not in any particular order. I guess 1, 7, 10,
These are our
14.
item numbers, 17, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I threw those numbers on there to help keep us sane.
It's helpful.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, those aren't rankings,
They're
those are
item
just
numbers, that's right, they're
numerical.
not, they're item numbers, not ranks. All right, next up.
Okay, I would go, again, I think we need to do it this way. This is the way we do it, and there's a time, but it's without the time dimension, I find this confusing, but whatever. I'd go with number 13, the forestry plan, with the assumption, even though that could be a line item as opposed to a capital budget, given that it's a very precise price, by the way. I wondered,
It's, the next subsequent years are not even close to that.
yeah,
Way up. So this one's kind of tricky. So this forest and invasive management plan, we brought a consultant on to look at 3 major parks. Went through, said, here's the invasives you have, here's what your park is quite literally gonna look like in the next couple of years, which will just be a rotten hillside of fallen timber above Bird Park. That there's some significant work that needs done to maintain and keep the assets that, you all escaped to. So this plan is a multi-year, so I'm not quite sure how it fits in yet, because unlike the Parks Master Plan, comp plan, there isn't full buy-in because commission hasn't even seen it yet. So this one's gonna be developing as the numbers on the 28th go in front of commission. They have it now to review ahead of time, so they're probably already starting to turn gears on it. But that is a multi-year program with a different dollar amount each year. And it's a very long-term phase thing, so.
Is the study has been done, or is this would be
The study has been done. This will be.
study's been done?
Yeah, this is the 3rd phase deliverable from the vendor, was to give us a budget breakdown, in terms of what to chip off when. That includes work across 3 parks, all simultaneously, as they make sense to this vendor who wrote this up. And it's very well done. It's very complete, I'd call it. So yeah, don't let the number fool you of the 26, that will go up.
That's like the first step of.
That's
it.
like the first step of it, yeah, so we're in the 100,000s after that, each year.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I interrupted myself, so I'm gonna go with 13, 14. In no particular order here, 16, 15, is that something that, Gateway's doing already under is it scalable or?
Scalable as in, the discussions from previous Parks Board where we have some parks where we know some neighbor boundaries are encroaching. We got sheds, trampolines, things like that are in there, you know, so we can get a budget item from Gateway and then talk about probably in this group, how exactly you do that. Is it visual? Is it mapping? Is it letters out to residents where we have problems? And what is a problem is the first question, really. You know, is a trampoline 2 foot over the line a problem? You know, are we talking a shed that's majorly in a park? You know, we're not sure how it got there, a bigger problem. So that's scalable in the regards that we can get a baseline number to do X amount of feet and we can figure out how much our dollar will get us. So,
We'll also go, thank you. I'll also go with the North Meadowcroft Phase 3 improvements, and as that evolves, maybe we could even, using the Royal We here collectively, look at, sound attenuation stuff, whatever that means.
Yep.
That's what the paddleball fields and things moving forward. And then the last one, it's kind of a small bucks in comparison, but the fencing repairs, I feel like that they had done a bunch of fencing, you guys had done a bunch of fencing repairs.
I do as much fencing as I can do every year and I could do it 3 times over.
Okay,
The
that's
amount
fine.
of what we have. Which one are you referring to?
Number 4, the Middle and Seymour fence repairs, 'cause when Rob Mackey and I went out and we were looking, I'm not arguing about the need for it, I was just confused, because I knew you guys have been doing yeoman efforts.
Yeah, we did 150 foot of new fabric on the toe of the slope side out of the gate for bullpen pitchers to get out, which makes sense. That number I think is going to represent other areas of the field, but you may see that tied into the turf replacement. You gotta get equipment and materials in there somehow, and there's going to be a fence that's missing when you do that, so.
I think some of the turf replacement numbers and everything, the lighting, it's kind of like, once it starts being done, it makes sense to do it all
Well, you know,
at one
there's 2,
time.
3, and 4, but 5 is all of them rolled up together.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've done sections of fence repair that make sense that would remain during replacement of the turf. So we're not throwing away dollars on repairs we've done just to do them, so. That more or less is the fencing along Cedar Boulevard. That's a combination of 4 different fences over 20 years, so. That mainly is where that is. You see if I have you right, Tom. I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off, just tell me.
No, please, I don't mean to.
Yeah, go ahead and say back what he said.
I got,
13 is,
yeah, I got 13, 14 is 2, 16 is 3. Then I lost you.
Okay, Meadowcroft would make 4,
Okay.
and survey and park boundaries 5.
Got it.
Okay, I selected the ice rink replacement as number 1. I think bathroom facilities are necessary, so I chose the Bird Park bathroom and storm shelter pavilion, as well as the golf course. And then the field replacement, Middle and Seymour Fields replacement. I also selected both 13 and 14 as part of that, we'd call it expansion level. I think that invasive management plan is very important long-term, but so are the plan for the street trees. I think that's something that makes the community unique with all the trees. I know that when residents don't have a tree out front, they're probably always saying, I want one planted, but I think it's important to kind of plan that, what trees are gonna be there and work with, the proper, whatever groups that you need to. Also, I just think in terms of safety as well. With some of the climate change and, some of these trees, they pose some issues. I know I've had some, things fall on wires in my own neighborhood. So that's why I think that those 2 are extremely important. I think they're probably multi-year plans, but to kind of get started with those.
We'll review her list real quick.
Yep, I got one as ice rink chiller. I have 2 as bird bathroom, 3 as golf course bathroom. 4 is forestry and invasive management. And, no, I have that backwards. 4 is Middle and Seymour turf, 5 is forestry and invasive management.
Do we get it right?
Street plan. And did you mention?
13 and 14.
Yeah.
13 and 14, you're calling,
Well, and whatever.
okay.
You can get
You're allowed to have
Let it
six
go.
if you really.
Yeah.
Six. All right, a quick clarification on the golf course restrooms. So there, I have not been to the golf course,
Mhm.
like the actual, like, I've been on the outskirts of it.
Mhm.
The actual like clubhouse has restrooms
Correct.
It's a-
that are
it's a
relatively.
Women's locker room, men's locker room,
Right.
and a common bathroom.
Okay, so the golf course restroom here is in the course, during
On
golf
course,
course
yeah.
restrooms. So I just wanted to make sure everybody saw that. This isn't just like restrooms at the golf course, this is on course restrooms.
And these are gonna be like a prefab unit vault. With like a tank, water tank. It's not gonna be, water and sewer. There's no way we could do it.
Really
that
nice
price.
porta john.
It is gonna be a very, very nice
Trailer,
porta
one of those nice trailer, VIP sponsor ported.
Kind of the same thing though with the bird park. You're not gonna have good water access at that location.
We have
Yeah.
Like
water
that
and
would be
sewage.
prohibitively expensive to run a water line down to that.
You know what? I'm gonna confess that I know I was working with the engineers on this and I'd have to go back and see what the CIP says. I think we were starting to try to do water and sewer and it wasn't gonna happen.
That's not gonna
And
happen.
so it ended up being
You
like
do
a
composting.
a
toilets.
prefab. Yeah, yeah, but I think we were gonna do a prefab, toilet with a vault.
We have water, we have 2 different water lines down to the exact site where it's going now. They've been there for a while.
Yeah, there's a drinking fountain down there.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah, there was water.
Sewer-
larger lines for irrigation.
I think the sewer was the issue. But either way, I'm pretty sure the CIP accurately reflects what that was. I just can't recall right now.
All right, for me, I have number 5. Number 7, 13, and 8. So Sunset Hills, Brafferton Park, nobody's mentioned that one. They started that this year. This would be phase 2. So they filled in the infield to make it a rectangular course, but there's still a lot of work. The parking there is a bit of a disaster. The fence is falling down. There's a lot they could do with that basketball court in that area to make that park a much nicer park. So that's on my list of 5. Next.
Okay, that's it. I'm a new member here, so
Yes.
this list is new to
Overwhelming
me,
to you, yeah.
but clearly the turf replacement's important. I'm always amazed how busy those fields are there. And as one who was opposed to all that money originally, I clearly was wrong. I think Bird Park, the improvements there and the field improvements are important. I think that's a great kind of hidden asset there. The one I really wanted to talk about was the golf course restrooms. You know, I'm an older golfer, and yet there's not really a need for an on-course bathroom. It's a 9-hole course. The clubhouse is located such that you're not that far removed from that bathroom. There's 3 bathrooms in the clubhouse. There's really not a need, and it's a lot of money for really little value. I think the prior manager had talked about it for a number of years and kind of convinced people it was necessary, but you know, when I talked to the current management there, there's just better ways to spend money. Right now, there are 3 temporary tees on the golf course. And these benefit juniors, women, and seniors. And they need to be made permanent. They need to be leveled. It just would make the course a lot more playable for those groups. So if we're gonna, and I suspect it would be less than that $100,000 number.
It's in the CIP, so we could look at it, yeah.
Because that's clearly the most important thing we can do at the golf course right now.
So you're saying we could add that item to the list then? And it's changing the temporary tees and making them permanent? Is that what?
There's a golf course, clubhouse and facility improvement for $100,000 in the current.
That's not it.
Golf course, then there's just the
Golf
general
course
$500,000.
Yeah, 553.
The clubhouse is old, it was built in the sixties, I think. I'm sure it needs some work, but, you know, they're doing some work.
553,000 for.
Golf course improvements, that just as a general line, it might be in there.
They're doing some work on the bathrooms in the clubhouse, I think, wait for equipment. But anyway, that would be what I need for the golf course and what the current management feels is most important. So those are the things I'm interested in.
You wanna, can we rank those at all real quick, Mike? I got,
Well,
it's up to you.
I think for the biggest good, obviously, the turf replacement.
Okay, that's what I have, but I want to make sure.
I'm certainly focused on the golf course and it's not a major project, but the permanent tees to replace. I think it's on, 4, 7, and 8. We need, permanent level tees there.
I got you in there on that one for number 2. I heard you mention
And in Bird Park, I think is,
field improvements.
I kind of combined the two of them. I combined, 6 and 7.
How about your last one?
That's enough for me.
Okay.
I'm not real demanding.
Just to add on to that, is that something to mentioning, because I'm not a golfer, is that something the new golf course manager, can we get like a recommendation from him? As to
He will.
if the bathroom is necessary
I talked
versus
to him
some of the
yesterday.
other equipment or some of the other.
Yeah, like wonder, what's his wish list?
Yeah,
Is
his
it-
list is.
This may have been added with a previous,
Yeah, Dave was, I don't know, he was focused on that, but I talked to Colin yesterday and again today, and he just thinks the money is way too much for the value, considering the location of the clubhouse to the course. A restroom there would cause maintenance problems, vandalism problems, you know, it's gonna be a lot of problems, and we don't need it, so.
yeah, maybe that's just, I would probably say I maybe need some input from the golf course manager.
I talked to him also about whether we could do something with porta johns because the people who would favor, you know, on-course restrooms, the women's leagues, there's a league on Tuesday, there's a league on Thursday. But you're not 3 minutes away from the clubhouse on any hole, really.
That makes sense.
And they don't want porta johns there just because of the potential for problems.
Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, like, you know, Colin, the current manager, is working from what Dave Bull, the previous manager, started. It's possible that now Colin in his second year is gonna wanna make some changes to that, and I misspoke. We don't have those temporary tees. We have, in 25, we have laser level and sod, all the existing tees, total of 13. Well, I guess that does include the, well,
Yeah, he mentioned the leveling of the
yeah.
tees. I don't, other than those 3 temporaries, I don't see a big problem, but that is on his list, the laser leveling of all the tees.
Okay, and then it has, including removal and reinstallation of all T irrigation. So that was in 2025, estimated cost of $178,200. So do you think that the work that you're talking about, Mike, is included in that description I just gave?
I don't think the temporary tees
That's a different
is
animal.
out of it because, you know, those got put in because as much as any of the senior league, probably the women's leagues have insisted on shorter tees and some of these. And they're just mowed shorter, but they're on the side of a hill. I mean,
Right.
hard to find flat spots there, but.
So permanent, make temporary tees permanent, basically.
Yeah,
That's
they
what
have
you're-
permanent, shorter tees on 4, 7, and 8.
4, 7, and 8. Okay, we will put that in there and we can try to, if it gets traction, we'll try to put a number to it.
I mean, the course is the best it's ever been. The maintenance guy, Jason, does a wonderful job.
Thank you.
And it's never been better. It's gotten a lot of play. I think the numbers are very good.
So a lot's changed in 12 months, because last year was the worst it was ever been.
You know, in August, it's, you know, I've been playing golf there a long time and I'm in other clubs too, but I didn't even know they had a watering system there for years. Jason's come in, he knows how to handle grass. The greens are in excellent condition.
I think cutting where they're able to, last year they were really behind, but they lost the mower, I know all that.
The one thing that's different that some people object to is in the rough areas, it's high grass. It's aesthetically good. If you hit the ball in there, you're not gonna find it. You're not gonna be able to hardly play out of there, but
I don't like it
I think it's good because it gives a better aesthetics to the course.
too hard.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this year it's probably
keep it
a
in play.
little worse in the roughs too, because we've had so much rain and we are behind,
So
so.
they're cutting
Last year was the mower issue and
We had that,
hand power and all that stuff. All of that combined made it a tough year.
All right,
So we're through that.
I have to leave, so. I'm gonna point to Patrick and Natalie and have them go through. Do they need to have this list by the end of this meeting?
we
correct?
need to have an approved list at the end of this meeting. We'll have, we still have a quorum, so we'll be good.
All right, good luck to
Enjoy the
everybody.
concert.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
mean, I have to go
Ditch.
too. I had another meeting at 7.
Do we still have a?
Still have a quorum.
Good,
All right, no one else leave.
yeah.
I think I said that.
Lock the door, Phil.
RSVP, I mentioned it, so.
Yeah. Okay, thank you
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Okay, thank you. All the power is in your hands now.
Well, I've had I guess I'm going with my little.
Did we get Mike's all
Yes,
documented?
I
Okay,
said 4 was
Okay.
enough for him.
I've had the benefit, well, being a new member, I'm catching up a little bit, but I've been listening to everybody, I've got a little better handle. So I'll give you my ranking. Number 1 would be number 1, the ice chiller. Number 2 would be number 7, the Bird Park bathroom. That makes a lot of sense. Number 3 would be number 5, the turf replacement. My number 4 would be 13, the forestry invasives. And number 5 would be the develop the forest management plan for street trees.
okay, thank you. All right, you're
All
right.
right, okay, my number 1 would be, I'm kind of tied up here, but, I think my number 1 would be the forest management plan for the street trees. Followed by the forestry invasive and management plans for 2. And then for number 3, I would have North Meadowcross Phase 3. And since it's probably gonna happen anyway, the ice chiller. before.
You want a 5?
For number 5, I would say, number 16. Community garden improvements.
Okay. So, just, I'll kind of review as I'm processing and calculating here. So, the way we've got this going, the lowest number, really, that's not really the best thing. So how about we calculate the number of ones we got? So item number 1, chiller replacement, has 2 people gave that number 1.
That was it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have my panes frozen, I apologize.
5.
Yeah, we got 5 ones on that one. So that's very highly ranked. Next item is the full turf replacement lighting and fencing is, how many ones we got here? Just one, but 1, 2, 3, 4 other people ranked that in their top 5. The next item, Bird Park field improvements,
One
we
person.
only have 1 person and we ranked it 3rd. So that's, the field improvements aren't extremely high. Now, item number 7, Bird Park bathroom, storm, shelter and pavilion. ranked by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. We have 3 2s, 2 4s, and a 3.
Yep.
So that's pretty high. And next item, 8, Sunset Hills Bradfordton has 1 ranking of 5. Number 9, North Meadowcroft Phase 3.
2 rankings at a 3 and a 4.
Yep. And then next golf course restroom has 3 rankings, 2 3s and a 2. And then we skip down to forestry invasive management plans. We have
5 total.
5 total, a 1, a 6, 2 4s, and a 2. So that's up there. Develop forest management plan number 14 has 5 ranks, 3, a 2, a 5, 2 5s, and a 1. Survey and mark park boundaries has 1 number 5 vote. Community Gardens has 2 votes, a 3 and a 5. Temp Tees has 1 vote at a number 2. So man, how are we going to rank these? Well, I think Rink Chiller is clearly number 1. Ranked number 1 by more than any other project. So I think we can safely put that as 1. Let's see, what are our next receiving? The next probably highest number of votes.
I would say 13, 14, 5, 7, 1 are probably your top 5. I don't know what order, but
Okay, well, let's say that is it. So if we're going to choose from, you said 13,
14, 7, 5, 1.
Yeah.
Would probably be your top 5. And then I would just make a note that now I have more information on the golf course restroom. Maybe we table that a little bit until we wait to hear from the golf course.
no tabling tonight.
Or maybe we'll move it down the list a
Just
little bit.
go with your gut.
Okay.
Did more people choose the entire, number 5, the entire project than
Yeah, I
breaking
think-
that down? I'm
Yes,
okay
I
with
think
it.
part of it is we had decided we're ranking them all. But it's likely, not guaranteed, it's likely that if we're doing the turf, then you're probably gonna try to fund the lighting, the park, all of the other improvements. Cause you're not gonna tear up your turf to then install lighting 2 years down the line. So you're probably gonna have to do everything at once if that would get funded.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
That is the idea.
Well, we couldn't do the lighting
So-
sensibly.
Separately.
If you do the lighting right now, maybe, but I don't think financially, it wouldn't make sense to tear it. You can bring equipment on to the turf to do the lighting. And then replace the turf.
I would change my vote on that. Number 5,
I didn't differentiate
Yeah.
between the 2.
Yeah, it's all kind of, they're separated, but
yes.
I think
it's really one
I was
project.
gonna claim
Yes.
whether 5 was real or just the number 5 there, and it took me a little bit to figure out at home that, oh, these 3 add up to this big number.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is correct. And the municipality, you could bring equipment onto turf and put mats down and things, but we're not willing to do that. I mean, we want to wait, either do it when we replace the turf or don't do it.
Yeah, we don't have the infrastructure through the field to get to the toe of the slope on the backside. So we have lighting conduits there. We've planked out and changed lamps on the existing turf field with no warranty issue, no anything like that. But we don't have any underground infrastructure to carry those lights to the forest.
So in reality, 2, 3, and 4 don't exist. The option is 5 or not 5.
Well,
Well, you
or
could do-
2 and not,
you could replace the turf and not do lighting.
not do 3. You could also do fencing repairs later, at any time it's just they're all needed. And if you're gonna mobilize a contractor to do the work, it makes sense to do everything together. And lighting must go with turf replacement, so
Okay.
You could not do lighting for sure. You're gonna have to do turf replacement sooner or later, and you might as well do fencing with it. So anyway, so if we look at, 1, 5, 7, 13, 14. Let me just, I'm kind of looking at the ranking here. I think we know that chiller is number 1. The other items, just looking at them. Bird Park bathroom and storm shelter pavilion has more votes. You know, not looking at the rank, more overall votes. And they're all pretty low. 1, 2, 3 2s, 2 4s, and a 3. So it is looking to me, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like it's the next highest, next most popular item, I would say. Unless someone's like, no way. I think that's 2. So that brings us to turf and lighting, forestry, and street trees. They all got 5 votes. So of the 5, we have like the numbers total to 16, 17, 17, 14. So the lowest, meaning it got the most higher ranked votes, is the turf. With 2 4s, a 2, a 1, and a 3.
Sorry, which one we got about with it?
That's the full turf project, number 5. So number 5 appears to be ranked 3rd, in my opinion.
How many times did forestry and invasive come up?
5 times, a 1, 2, 2 4s, and a 6.
So 17 overall versus 16, it's very close for forest management and street trees. So they're almost neck and neck.
Well, the price difference should be considered in the,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
they were talking with, half a change order.
Well, 1 is really going to end up in an operating budget, but 13, so.
Yeah. I mean, that could
it-
be a service level in the parks budget to do that, and it doesn't wind up in CIP.
But again, it's still gonna be reflected in your overall ranking at this point when that goes to the commission after
and
tonight.
the turf replacement is not happening this year, or
It's not happening in 24, certainly. It could happen in 25. It may have to wait, if they're not gonna do a bond issue, it might have to wait till 26. Couldn't say for
Mhm.
sure. I think, Phil, do you wanna just give them an update on condition of the turf?
Our GMAX numbers are what they should be. They fall in line at all the kind of suggested impact areas, second base, goal mouths, midfield, places where you see, I know you can't predict an injury, but places where you're more likely to see it is where you do that testing. We don't have any major seam repairs. We've replaced batters boxes. Our worst turf injury was due to some kids lighting fireworks off in front of the pitcher's mound. So I think we're doing our part.
And that was
Hard
injury to
control
the
that.
turf, not the kids, right?
Yeah, far as I know.
That's what I thought.
and the pull slides too, they were shooting. But,
Did that too.
but the forestry invasive management plan hasn't
it hasn't been reviewed.
reviewed.
The next steps of commission looking at it and saying, all right, if we, want to commit to this, here's the dollars we need 4 years out. So my just, suggestion on this is you've, last year's efforts and a consensus was to get this year-long study done. So if you want to put doing another study ahead of that, I don't know how many studies you want on the shelf. or if, you know, we've been doing a street tree program in Mount Lebanon for quite some time. We've, you know, my suggestions that was that, you know, we have a removal plan. We have one of the most comprehensive work order management systems. Our 3 tree guys have tablets. They get email updates on health checks, limbs, elevations, hazardous trees, removals. We probably have one of the most, I'd say, like, complex programs right now. Always, nobody's standoffish to that, you know, if we can learn and go forward, we're good for that too, so. That plan is more understanding, looking at what we're doing, saying, here's some ways you can improve, or here's what this species costs you over the life of the tree. This is a more in-depth look at what you're already getting. You already have a street tree program in Mount Lebanon. That's why we, you know, plant, remove, order for next year, stump grind. We do all that from start to finish on all these trees. You know, over 12,000 of them.
I thought the only plan was to have Duquesne Light come in and cut them down.
Well, you could go that route.
That's what I see.
Yeah, there's that aspect of it too.
So this is looking more at some of these changes with, you know, the climate, you know,
This would be a similar
yeah.
contractor as the forestry and invasive coming out and saying, probably working mostly with staff and saying, let me see what you guys are doing, you know, going out and actually seeing the trees that are in there. We have a lot of them mapped on GIS already. You can click on a tree and see the, you know, diameter. I mean, it's a pretty good program now, but this kind of takes it to a whole nother level of really diving into it, I think. So, but all worthwhile stuff. So, but I don't have a clear answer on the forestry and invasives with the number changing. It looks palatable at 26. I can tell you the next number is like 135, and we're talking about, you know, possibly clearing some large sections, fencing. It's you know, quite a jump from there. So,
Yeah, right.
and that's something we can unpack over the course of this year
Yeah,
too.
exactly. And again, that's why I'm thinking in terms of multi-year
Right.
strategic arrangements. I would certainly like to see the, you know, the forest and invasive management plan moving forward. There's a lot of interest, a lot of momentum, a lot of good work done. And so I'd write that number for whatever we're up to. We'll see what it gets, you know, I mean, $100,000 a year or $1 million a year or something, we'll figure that out moving forward.
Yeah.
So Tom, you were a number, you would vote for forestry and invasives? Is that what you just said?
Ray, you said he proves it being 4 on this list.
Yeah,
Yeah, you would want that to be.
yeah, are we going for a top 5? Is that the?
That's what we're going for.
Well, I want it to be in there. And then, so number 4.
Well, it is in the top 5, so, it's just which,
We'll go for number 4, but it's,
what's the consensus? Is that 4, or does someone want to argue something else for 4?
We're on,
I would put that above the bird
I was gonna
park
say, did we do 3?
we're on 3.
bathroom.
No, 3 was turf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, you said there was 16 and 17, it was close, and then we got into the price point.
13 and 14, I think, are the 2 that are very close. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. They received, the tally of all the votes was 16 and 17, items 13 and 14. I'm sorry if I.
I would say 13's that would be the next one up then.
I agree.
Okay, so that's 4,
That would be ranked high, yeah, higher than number 14.
making the forestry management for, plan for street trees 5. So let me just read these back, make sure everybody understands, and then we can get a motion in a second. Number 1, ice rink chiller replacement. Number 2, bird park bathroom and storm shelter pavilion. Number 3, Middle and Seymour turf replacement, lighting and fencing project. Number 4, implementation of forestry and invasives management plans. Number 5, develop forest management plan for street trees. So we're good with that as our top 5? All right, can I get a motion?
Are we right to kind of overlook the tennis courts? Do they need something that nobody's supporting for some reason, or?
Well, since you brought it up, the tennis courts, there's 6 courts under bubble. Okay, those are the ones we play in the winter. They have their own very unique characteristics. Because they're in a bubble, they have to have an underground irrigation system. When they are played on year round and not allowed to get freeze and thaw and weather all year round, they become hard as a rock. So they're very difficult to get back that soft characteristics that our Har-Tru courts are known for. They're also very old. So those court numbers are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 3 through 8 are bubble courts. 7, 8 have been rebuilt already. 5 and 6 are getting rebuilt right now. So that leaves 3 and 4 to complete the bubble courts. So this will be a very high priority for me personally. It's going to be up at the top of my list because I want to finally get this done. When they're hard as a rock, not only do they not play well, they don't drain well, which means you can't play on them as much, and then they don't irrigate well. So in the heat of the summer, when the weather is very dry, you turn on the irrigation, and instead of getting a nice, even, moist court, you get patches where it's getting through and other places where it is just not. And then when it's covered under bubble, it becomes slippery. It's I don't want to say it's less desirable, could be slippery and create a fall hazard. So for all those reasons, it's high on my list. I want to get it done.
I think when you consider the level of play, that we'd be wrong to overlook the need to keep those top shelf.
Well, and one more thing I'll just say to advocate for tennis. This is a pivotal moment for tennis in Mount Lebanon. For 50 years, we have had a dual management model where a nonprofit manages the bubbles in the winter and the rec department manages it in the summer. Indoor tennis closed their doors after 56 years of operations. They concluded their run on managing the tennis center this April 30. So the rec department now for the first time is going to do year-round tennis. We have a full-time tennis center manager, never before in history, a full-time maintenance man, never before in history. So this is really, tennis is having a moment, and I want to advocate for it as much as I can. I want to see it be successful. We've had some criticism that our tennis center has not been where it needs to be. So we're trying to change all that. And I think we're really on the right foot and have a lot of momentum, and I'd love to carry that through.
Financially, do they support themselves? I mean, how's the cash flow
Well,
versus cost?
so I'd have to be looking at indoors books and ours, which, you know, we know they share their financial statements with us. Indoor has a positive balance and puts their cash reserves in an account for bubble replacement and, you know, furnace repair, things like that. So they're, you know, positive in the black. Our tennis center is a slight net negative, not major, but yeah, it's not break even operationally speaking. But we'd like to certainly change that. And I think with the year-round operations, the efficiencies that we're gonna gain, I think that it will be. I think when you look
I
at
think
the,
for all the reasons you've said, and just, I think the courts are important. I haven't played tennis for quite a while, but I think we ought to make number 5 on our list, just to be fair to them.
well, six,
That's an idea.
Well, I was gonna say, are we going just 5 or are we going down
Maybe 6.
to the list?
6.
we could certainly make it 6.
Yeah, I like the idea of making it 6, because I was about to suggest that 13 and 14 could be merged into one recommendation, but making 6 is a lot clearer.
Okay.
And I agree with Mike, you know, it's an existing capital asset that's popular and needs to be maintained, et cetera, et cetera.
And for the number 14, for the street trees, after what Phil was saying, like, you still want to see that to the next level? Is that still a high priority, knowing what we know?
Refer to folks who know what they're talking about, because I think we have like 3 landscape architects in the room.
What can be gained from that?
Cause the only thing I'll just finish my thought is I know Meadowcroft Park was brought up a few times, that like next phase.
Not on there, yeah.
Would that replace the tree canopy if we already have an existing program?
Well,
Not, I mean, you know, just in our rankings.
hold on, repeat that question one more time.
So like North Meadow, Meadowcroft Park was mentioned, I think, a few times, was that?
2 votes.
Okay.
Right, wait, freeze panes is on again, hang on. Still 2 votes.
So we could just make that a number 7. I mean, if we're just adding.
If we're just
to the
going down,
list.
so I was just curious for the tree canopy, develop a forest management plan for the street trees. What, like, what's the drive for that if we already have a existing program?
I think it's to make sure that the existing program is up to code with, issues of plants on plant lists that are invasive. It seems you need to continue to get it up with what the,
The DCNR list for.
Thank you, the DCNR list.
Yeah, we do abide by, we reference all of our plantings with an approved list that was made by the Parks Board last year, that references that, DCNR document. So that's constantly referenced every time there is a street tree order. We've stopped purchasing, a couple different ones over the last couple of years, and revised that list. But there's right tree for the right spot is the number one thing, and utility wires limits your selection almost down to 4 or 5. So,
So that's what, I guess I'm just asking for a little more clarification on what does the 75,000 for that plan get us?
a full depth look at what we're doing now. If there's a better practice, if there's a better way that we could go about what we're doing. Also might provide a life cycle cost per tree, so that when that sucker goes in the ground, we have an idea financially what that tree will cost over the course of its life, how much pruning, how many man hours, everything like that. We have a ton of data that could be shared with whoever might, be awarded that. So a full in-depth look at our current operation.
Tree decisions we make now, given climate change and other things, we're gonna be stuck with those. Either we'll be replacing trees that die after 10 years because it's gotten too warm or whatever. But I think, I have no idea whether 75's too high, too low, or just right, or whatever. But I can see a need for folks to tell us, give us some guidance. I'd be interested in, if we add up, we're up to 7 now, just add up what the bottom, what's the bottom line on those.
What was 7? Cause I'm,
Potentially North Meadowcroft, just because it was mentioned. multiple
Yeah,
times.
there's so much work done at Meadowcroft.
Number 9.
I know we can't have everything, I can start arguing for everything on the list, but
does everybody
I'm
agree on
biased.
7?
yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I'm biased towards finishing projects that the municipalities invest in.
This one,
That is the tennis court, and the North Meadowcroft.
North Meadowcroft was 2 project years in a row with the 3rd phase that now we're sitting, I think, on year 3 of not completing. Just that working our way out the basketball end.
Some ADA access, correct?
A little bit more improvements on what connectivity is left there.
Yeah.
David, I had one question on the golf course, the temporary tees. How do they fall into? They're not in this list per se, but
Well, what I'm gonna do personally is talk to Colin
Okay.
and see if we wanna restructure that CIP item for golf course tees. And see what he says. We could also, that could be potentially an operating expansion level too,
it
like,
seems to me like it could be. but
yeah, like.
Colin didn't deal with it that way. I don't know. I never talked to Jason about what it would take.
I'll talk to Colin and
It was
Jason.
my backyard.
Put our
I did
heads
myself.
together. Yeah, exactly. All right, yeah, I'll talk to them and see if it could be just an operating expansion, we could look at it that way, or we just pull it into the whole CIP for the golf course and decide, does what's there even make sense? Do we need to change this? Or
We didn't
just
even discuss
adding it?
the kind of money it would be. I have no idea, so.
Okay, yeah, because as a staff, we start to work on the CIP now. So that's why this is the deadline for the boards, so that we can now go through and do development of the CIP, goes to the manager, gets published, so.
What's the CIP stand for?
Capital Improvements Program, so it's a 5-year plan, municipal-wide plan.
So we landed on 7, your top 7.
So you got 5, so as 6, we have tennis court reconstruction, phase 3. And 7, we have North Meadowcross, North Meadowcroft phase 3. That's a tongue twister. Man. Okay, we good? We have a list of 7?
Let's go 1 through 7 again.
Sure. Number 1, ice rink chiller replacement. Number 2, Bird Park bathroom and storm shelter pavilion. Number 3, Middle and Seymour turf replacement, lighting and field and fencing project. Number 4, implementation of forestry and invasives management plans. Number 5, develop forest management plan for street trees. Number 6 is tennis court reconstruction phase 3, and number 7, North Meadowcroft phase 3. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second,
I'll second.
and all those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Okay. Good job, everybody. All right.
The entire thing can be different next year. To be clear on how that works.
Getting back to the agenda here today. So we are on number 9. Announcement of next, I'm sorry, is there any other new business? Let's ask that first. Hearing none, any announcements other than the next meeting date and time? All right, the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Mount Lebanon Parks and Recreation Advisory Board is Wednesday, June 19th at 6 p.m. in this room.
At 6?
It's still at 6, and actually, if you want to go back to new business, we should probably talk about that. I was kind of counting on Amanda to do this. At the previous meeting, you had kind of come to the consensus that 7:30 would be the better meeting time. And in the meantime, I've gone back, and basically the answer is, can you change the meeting time? The answer is it would be subject to commission approval, and then we would have to re-advertise because we've already advertised at 6 p.m. So if you would like to make a motion to change the meeting time to 7:30 and vote and approve, I will take that to the commission. That's kind of where that stands.
Re-advertise is just to let the public know when we're.
Yeah, you have to publicly advertise meetings. It's already been done at 6 for the whole year, so I would have to do a change. It's not a huge deal. The big deal is, will the commission approve it? But to take it to them, I would have to have that formal recommendation, which I'm happy to do if you guys would like me to do that. We would just need a motion and a second.
And an undue hardship on you two gentlemen or other staff people involved.
Happy to be employed, Tom.
Yeah, I know the feeling. It's all good.
Ditto. It's not a problem for me at all.
As long as you guys don't mind me being late, I can keep it at 6, but it's very tough for me to get here at 6. Even 6:30 would be great, but that's just me, so.
She's got 4 boys.
Yeah, that's what mine is. My wife works 10s. I have a kid at home, so I gotta wait till she gets home before I can leave, so. That's what, it's just hard for me, but I'm willing to be late if you guys are okay with it.
I'm okay with changing it if it's easier on other people.
I like it the way it is and get it over with, you know? Like, I'm ready for bed.
Well, we had jumped to 7:30. Is there get to 6:30 or 7 as the third time? 7?
I'd vote for 7.
7 would be better?
It's better than 7:30, yeah.
Okay.
I have a small child, so bedtime.
Just throwing this out there, would you be more comfortable going at 6 one more time and then it would be new business for the next meeting?
That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, rather than,
Also, just, I don't know if this is a factor for anyone, but I think June 19th is Juneteenth would be a holiday for some people. I don't know if that's a holiday for the municipality.
It is not.
Okay,
It's not a staff holiday, let's put it that way.
okay. I know that I think county's off on that day, but. Just
If
one.
you would like to make a motion to give us that day off,
Hey,
I would be happy to take a vote on
I think we,
it.
put that on the commissioner's report.
All right, so we're gonna make that new business.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay, just gonna add that to the minutes and then, I think I already made the announcement, but I'll make it again next meeting Wednesday, June 19th, 6 PM in this room.
I think another new business, if I heard right, was possibly if it's appropriate after commission discussion on the 28th to kind of catch up to speed exactly what the forestry and invasive species management plan is for those of us that weren't involved or anything like that, especially if it's something you're ranking and high up there. Do we need some more information on that or just an overview? As soon as it's presented to commission, I think we'll probably put it in SharePoint at that point. Their slide, his presentation to the commission, similar to the field study and everything.
So you're saying that should be new business next time?
I would think so.
Hey, tell me the title.
Forestry and invasive management plan. That in itself will be delivered to commission on the 28th.
Is that open to the public?
Okay,
You, Dave, I don't know if it's new business, but I think we owe it to the, Mrs. Brown or whatever to make a recommendation on the times for that pickleball court. I think as an advisory board, we ought to vote and make a recommendation next meeting.
we can have it on the agenda next time, sure.
I think, yeah, because we're gonna get the report back from the commissioner with whatever, if any more complaints had come in at that point.
The people who complain, are they gonna keep complaining or
Right.
they'll said their piece?
Or also see how it's gonna, affect things, when school's out. So I think there was a little bit of a wait and kind of see.
Yeah, that was Amanda's thought, yep. Yeah, so school is at the 7th,
The 7th, I believe.
so that's not a lot of time, but we can certainly discuss it again and,
I don't think we ought to ignore it or we got.
oh, no, not at all,
Decision.
not at all. Yeah, okay, yeah, it can be, I'm gonna talk to, the commissioner and get some more information and can be discussed again at the next meeting. Okay. All right, any other announcements? Do I have an motion to adjourn?
So
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? The meeting is adjourned at 7:49 PM.